On the 18th of December, we reflect upon the Lord under the ancient title, O Adonai, the Hebrew word for Lord. In the translation of the Breviary, O sacred Lord of ancient Israel, who showed yourself to Moses in the burning bush, who gave him the holy law on Sinai mountain, come, stretch out your mighty hand to set us free. O Adonai, O Lord, God of our fathers, God of Abraham and Isaac and Joseph, God especially of Moses, come to us in a new way. This antiphon clearly asks us to reflect on God's plan for salvation history. If the 17th begins with the somewhat abstract O wisdom, O ancient word before time, the 18th asks us to reflect on how our God acts in history, to bring grace from on high, to bring God's eternal love to us in time. And one of the most significant moments for that covenant history comes with Moses. We all know the story of Moses. He's set free from his Hebrew family to drift down the stream and be picked up by Pharaoh, the enemy who holds the Hebrews captive. This plan working in Moses' life seems awkward to us. The timing is weird. The people who come to shine seem to be our enemies. And then it comes full circle, and Moses stands up to Pharaoh and asks for the people to be set free. To be set free, not only from their captivity under labor, their slavery, bondage in that sense, but to be set free, to go into the wilderness, to offer true worship to the true God. It's this initial request to worship God, to be with God, which sets the Israelites upon the journey that includes the 10 plagues, the 40 years in the wilderness, and most especially the gift of the covenant at Sinai. This new covenant with Moses renews and fulfills the covenant established with Noah, perhaps foretold at creation, renewed with Abraham and the promise for descendants, so that God's people now has a name, Israel. God's people now has a land, the promised land. God's people now has definitive prophets. Moses, who was able to see in the 10 Commandments, in the experience on Sinai up high with God. Moses is a prophet who was able to see the lawgiver who would come to write God's law on our hearts. Today, we reflect on that most ancient of gods, Adonai, who always has been with us, and yet who comes to us in a new way, who writes that covenant not on stone tablets, but in our hearts. Come, Lord. Come, ancient Lord, ever ancient and ever new. Come and renew your covenant within us, and help us to live your law. Help us to love your law. Place Sinai deep within us, that we might remain faithful to your covenant. Stretch out your mighty hand to set us free. Set us free from our captivity in all forms.